Shalom Israel with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, and the Commander General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. In tonight's class, tonight's class is the Lashawan our heritage. Like this is something very important for us to understand and learn and talk about. Right? You do not want to leave this. You do not want to be in this truth and not know how to speak Hebrew. You do not want to be in the truth and not know how to speak the Lashawan Qadash. Like this is something very, very important to understand. Right? This is something very, very important to realize. Like so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are God's chosen people, and we are their descendants. We are the descendants of the Israelites, and we are the descendants of the Jews. And this was a part of our language. Like this was our language. Now, if anyone has any questions, all right, you can ask. But tonight's class, we're going to talk about the past tense. Now, last class, we pretty much went over the conjugations of the past tense. We went over every conjugation of from the past tense. This is where we left off yesterday. All right, we left off how to conjugate han and han. All right, well we learned how to conjugate the verb yadai based off of the subject pronoun han and han. Now remember, when it comes to conjugating verbs, all right, when it comes to conjugating verbs, you cannot conjugate a verb unless you know the subject pronoun. When it comes to conjugating verbs, you have to know the subject pronoun. If you do not know the subject pronoun when it comes to conjugating verbs, you're not going to know how to conjugate these verbs. You have to know the subject pronoun in order to conjugate these verbs. You have to know the subject pronoun in order to conjugate these verbs. All right. This is something you have to do. You understand? Like you have to know this. All right. So I'm gonna get this off the board because tonight's class we're gonna focus on structuring sentences. All right. We're gonna actually structure sentences. So I'm probably gonna have the very same setup, right? But it's gonna be a little more. I'm not gonna say advanced. But what we're going to do is add a little more to it, all right? So now, remember, tonight's class deals with the past tense, right? Tonight's class deals with the past tense, all right? This is how you're going to be able to conjugate verbs, all right, in the past tense, all right, in the past tense. And how to structure sentences like I went to the store, all right? Or I went to the gym, whatever the case may be. This is what we're going to be learning, all right? This is what we're going to be touching base on. Now remember, to learn how to structure the sentences properly is to let you know how to properly structure sentences in the Hebrew, all right? Like it might sound weird, but at one point in time, when we were learning the Lashawan Qadash, we didn't know about verb conjugations because that was us slowly learning about, all right? That was us slowly learning and coming into the language. Now we know the language. Now we're getting more skilled with the language. So now we're going to get a little bit more advanced. The advanced part is using conjugations. All right. So now let's get an example of, we're going to get on the board. Let's say, for an example, does anybody know how to say, all right, does anybody online or in class, anybody know how to say to go in the Hebrew? Anybody know how to say to go in the Hebrew? Does anybody remember how to say to go in the Hebrew? Anybody remember that verb? Anybody remember how to say to go in the Hebrew? Now also, if you guys have any questions, do not be afraid to ask any questions and I'll also answer your questions online. Okay, so here we go. To say to go in the Hebrew is yalak. All right, to say the Hebrew word for to go is to yalak, is yalak. So if you're trying to go somewhere, all right, like let's say you want to go to the car or you want to go to the gym, right? And you want to say, but you want to say I went to the store because that's the past tense for to go. Like the past tense to go is I went somewhere, right? Let's say I went to the store. All right. So first things first, All right. So first things first, that's correct, Dr. Walker. Your lock is to go. That's correct. Your lock is to go. So now, let's get your lock on the board. All right. So now, well, first we're going to say, let's say I went to the store. First things first, we're going to get our subject pronoun. You have anya. Which means I or I am. All right. Then you have the verb yalak. Does anybody remember? All right. Does anybody remember the conjugation for I am? Does anybody remember the verb conjugation based off of the subject pronoun I am in the Hebrew? Anybody remember that? Anybody remember? Anybody? I can put it into the lock chat, but I'm gonna give it to you. So you have your lock, right? So remember, everything is conjugated based off of your subject pronoun. Remember, everything is conjugated based off of your subject pronoun. In order for you to conjugate something, you have to know the subject pronoun. So let's see what the sister says. Anak nawa. Okay, no, not quite. No, not quite. Anak nawa is a subject pronoun, which means we. Anak nawa is the subject pronoun for we. What I'm asking for is how to conjugate the verb yalak based off of the subject pronoun anya, which means I or I am. Something has to be done to yalak. Something goes at the end of yalak. So I'm gonna write it in for y'all, but y'all can still answer for a second try. All right, so you have yalak. So now you have yalak. Yalak taya. Yalak taya. Yalak taya, which means went. This means went. I went. So let's say, so I went to, let's say I went to the, let me see. We can say Maracay, which is car. Let's say we went to, let's say we went to, so we have Anya, Yalak, Taya. Let's say we went to the store. So to the store. All right. Let's go on for a second. You know, no, don't sweat that, princess. Now you have Anya, which is I am, Yalak, Taya, which means went. And let's say we're going to the store, or we went to the store. You have La, Ha, La, then you have Ma, I, Ra. equals literally to the store. To the store. So this is what we have. So this is how you say, I went to the store. So now let's pay very close attention. All right. So let's pay very close attention. So now let's break this down. This is how we did it. All right. You have anya, which is your I or your I am. Everything is conjugated based off of your subject pronoun, right? Everything is conjugated based off of your subject pronoun. Your I or your I am, this is your subject pronoun. Then you have the verb. Your verb is what's going to be conjugated. Your verb is what's being changed. Your verb is going to be different. Why? Because it's not going to be the same. All right? There are cases when conjugating verbs, you will not do anything to them. In the past tense, there is a time where you will not have to touch that verb and not do anything with it. All right? But in this case, because you're using I or I am, you have a yalaktaya, all right, yalaktaya, which means went. You conjugate the verb to go to went. So changing so that yalak is no longer going somewhere or to go, that taya at the end of yalak turned that verb into the past tense. Now this verb is no longer present, nor this verb is now past. Now you know yalak is in the past tense because the taya at the end of the verb made the verb yalak past tense. This is how you know it's no longer to go, but meaning went. Went is past tense for to go somewhere. So let's say I went to the store. I'm letting someone know I went somewhere, meaning this is in the past tense, meaning I'm not doing it now or I'm not doing it in the future. That means I've done it in the past, meaning it's already done. So I did it already. So yalaktaya meaning went. All right, yalaktaya meaning went. All right, then you have laha ma'ira. All right, laha. What you have now is laha ma'ira. So what you have now is laha ma'ira. So this is your la. So this is a la right here. I'll break it down. All right, your la. I'm gonna match it. Your la is your two. Your ha is your the. Your ma'ira is your store. So, to make sure there's no confusion, all right? Make sure there's no confusion. You have anya, yalaktaya, lamaira, lahamaira. Like it, so lahamaira. You have anya, yalaktaya, lahamaira. What we just said is I went to the store. So if you wanted to say anya, yalaktaya, lahamaira to someone, you would say I went to, you're telling someone you went to the store. Now you can use this in any context. In any context. Just remember, the main thing that you want to focus on is how to conjugate the verb in the past tense. Taya is how you conjugate the verb based off of the subject pronoun I am. So you don't have to say anya, right? You don't have to say anya. You can just say yalaktaya. If you just wanted to say yalaktaya laha mayara, you can say that. There's nothing wrong with you fully saying anya yalaktaya laha mayra. You can say anya yalaktaya laha mayra anytime, meaning I went to the store. Your la right here means two. Your ha right here means the. So when a la is in front of a word, so let's break that down. When a la is in front of a word, that means it's a two, like this two. Anytime you see a la in front of a noun or a verb or any whatever the case may be, 9 times out of 10, that la means two. You see that ha right here? This ha, if you see a ha in front of a word, usually it means the. Now the reason why I keep saying usually, because you want to make sure, you want to know, if this is a part, you want to first learn the root word. All right, you want to learn the root word first, right? Like for an example, the root word in this case is what? Ma'irab. Ma'irab is the root word. Ma'irab is the root word. So since you know ma'irab is the root word, you know la and ha are added to it. You know la and ha must mean something. You know la and ha is not a part of the root word ma'irab, which means store or market. You get my point? Like you want to make sure you know the root word. All right. How do you say look out? I can't talk and protect me. Okay, no sweat. All right. So now let's get this. So you have anya yalaktaya laha ma'irab, which means I went to the store. So anya yalaktaya laha ma'irab. So remember, if there's a la in front of the word or a ha in front of the word, it means two or the. Your la is your two, your ha is your the. Ma'irab meaning store or market. Right, meaning store or market. Okay, so how that is pronounced, all right, is anya yalataya laha ma'ira. All right. So the sister asked a good question. Okay, I see the question. How do you say look out? All right. I can't talk and protect me. Okay, no sweat. All right. So remember, all right, how you would say this. All right. You want to, it's pronounced Anya Yalaktaya Laha Mayarab, which means I went to the store. So now let's get the sister's questions out the way real quick too as well. The sister had some questions, which is no sweat. Khan. Yep, Khan, that is correct. So you can use, now remember, as long as you conjugate the verb, the noun that you use afterwards does not matter. All right. Whatever you would like to do, all right, you can even make up your own sentences. Like this is just how we are just teaching it, all right? That's all we're doing. All right. So let's see. I believe what we want to find is, give me 1 second. I believe the verb that I'm looking for one of your questions is sathar. All right. I want to say sathar, which means to protect. All right. So sathar. So there's a couple ways you can say this. All right. There's more than one way to say something. All right. All right. I just want to point that out there. There's more than one way to say something. All right, in Hebrew. And so to get the sister's question, the first question is, how would you say protect me? All right. How would you say protect me? Well, that's a good question. All right. So first we're going to say protect me. Because look out, that one's the easy one. You would just say ra'ah. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make sure y'all put this into your notes. All right. Put that into your notes. So to answer the sister's first question, well, I guess I should say third question, is protect me. All right. All right. So now, so what you have is, you have two ways to say this. You have, all right, shamar, shamaria, all right, which means keep me, right? Watch me, protect me. All right. So here we go. You have shamaria, right? Shamaria. Now, you can just say shamaria. You can say shamaria because you see this right here. Shamar means to keep, watch, or protect. All right. Shamar means to keep, watch, or protect. Like think about in our salute when we say Yahweh Shamar ala Thun by Shim Yahweh Shah. We're asking the Lord to watch over our sisters. All right. When we say Yahweh Shamar ala Thun by Shim Yahweh Shah, like that salute is like a prayer. And we're asking the Lord to watch over our sisters. That word shamar within our salute to the sisters is to watch. Why? Because we want our sisters to be what? Protected. We want them to be watched. We want them to be kept safely. Like that's the point of that. That's the spirit of that. Our language is spiritual. All right. So you have shamaria. Shamaria is how you could say protect me. Now, if you're asking someone else to protect you, right? You can say this, all right? It's still the same verb, but let's conjugate it in the present tense. Remember how to conjugate in the present tense? You can say Shamaria if you would like. You're not wrong if you do. All right? But let's say we say Shawamaria. Shawamar. Shawamaria. Shawamaria in the present tense just means the same thing. Keep me, watch me, protect me, all right? Keep me, watch me, protect me. Shawamaria. Shawamaria. That ya at the end means me. Now remember, me is a object pronoun in this case. When a ya is at the end of a verb, when you have something that comes at the end of a verb, like you, me, them, or whatever the case may be, these are object pronouns. These are considered object pronouns. Now, if these same things are coming after a noun and not a verb, let's say this was a noun, this would be considered a possessive pronoun. You want to look up our classes too in object and you want to look up object and possessive pronouns. I went over it, all right? I went over it about, I want to say like 2 or 3 times as well, because that is something we want to learn and practice. We want to know our subject pronouns, our object pronouns, and our possessive pronouns. We want to know the difference. So if you see a ya that comes after a verb, this is an object pronoun. But if you see a ya that comes after a noun, this will be a possessive pronoun. But because this is a verb, this is an object pronoun, and that object pronoun is me. All right? So keep me, watch me, protect me. Shawamaria. So now, same thing. All right? We're going to get another word that you can also use. Now, I gave you the most common one, shawamar or shamar, but you can also use shafar. You have a sa, you have a tha, then you have a ra, shatar, ya, which means cover me, hide me, protect me. So you have Shatharya. All right, Shatharya. Sathar. Shatharya. Shatharya, which means to cover me, hide me, protect me. All right. The verb shatar means to cover or hide oneself. All right. Meaning to hide or to cover. Shatar. Shatar is how you say to cover or to hide oneself. Shatar. All right, but when you add a ya at the end of it, which is that object pronoun, then that's the me. So shatarya, cover me, shatarya, or hide me, shatarya, protect me. Spiritually, you're trying to ask someone for protection because you want to be hidden. You want to be covered, right? So that's a form of protection, all right? Shatar, all right? Then you have, all right, so shatarya. All right, really quickly. All right, let's get another way to say protect me. I'll get one more. There's probably like maybe 5 or 6 ways to say protect me. All right, but I'm gonna give you at least 3, and you can choose which one you would like to use. You could use shamarya, you could use shatarya. All right, now these are all verbs, so you can still say shawamarya, you can say shawatharya, whichever the case may be. All right. Next one is magun. Shield me or protect me. So if you want to say magunya, all right. If you want to say magun, all right. If you want to say magunya, all right. Magun is the Hebrew word for shield, all right. Magunya, magun. I said magunya. So like in magunya is how you would say to shield, all right. All right, magun. Then you also have, all right, I'll give you another one better, all right? And this one is probably second to the well-known, all right? You guys will probably remember this one very clearly, all right? All right? So you have magun, all right, which means shield me, protect me, all right? You have magun, which means to shield or to protect me, all right? Then you guys know this one right here. This one still comes, this is the same thing as saying magun, all right? And you'll hear this in our prayers. Hagun. Hagun. All right, Hagunya. All right? If I'm not mistaken, that comes from the word magun. All right? All right, it comes from the word magun. All right? But it's another way to say protect me. Hagunya. So if you don't want to say magunya, you can say hagunya, shield me, protect me. It means the very same thing. All right? Let me see. Now let's say, now you want to, let's say, how do you say, look out. Okay, to look out. All right? To look out. All you have to say is this right here. There is a word for out. All right? And that's yataza. But you don't have to say ra'ah yataza. You can say ra'ah. So if you want to say ra'ah, all right, you can say ra'ah, ra'ah, which means to look. To look. Or you can say it for slang, look out. All right, well. Let's draw this somewhere else. To look or look out for slang wise. Look out. But if you want to say ra'ah yataza, which would literally translate to look out. Yataza. Yataza. Which literally means look out. So, all right. So what you have here is, you have ra'ah, which means to look. So ra'ah is the verb to look or to see. So if you wanted to see something or to look at something, you would use the verb ra'ah, meaning to look. Now slang, if you want to say less words, right? Like you don't want to say a whole sentence like ra'ah yataza and just say look out as in say, hey, ra'ah, like look. Like you tell someone like, hey, yo, ra'ah. You're saying like look out. Now if you want to say, hey, yo, ra'ah yataza, which means look out, that's perfectly fine. It's entirely up to you. But just know the verb ra'ah means to look. So ra'ah yataza. This which means like out. Yataza means out or like outside, out somewhere. That's another verb as well. Yataza. Another verb as well. All right. Now, if you want to conjugate this, all right, in the present tense, all right, you can just say rawa'ah, all right, rawa'ah. So add a y in between the ra and the ah, so rawa'ah yataza, all right, rawa'ah yataza. Now, that brings me to a good point. Remember carefully, if you have two verbs in a sentence, You only have to conjugate one. So if you want to conjugate it in the present tense, it will be rawa'a yataza, meaning you look out. What you're just saying, look out. Rawa'a yataza. Rawa'a yataza. Remember, if there's two verbs in a sentence, like yataza is a verb. All right? Rawa'a yataza. You only have to conjugate the first verb because even though these can be both verbs, sometimes our verbs become nouns. And sometimes our nouns become verbs. They're interchangeable. So in the Hebrew language, our verbs can be nouns, our nouns can be verbs. They can switch. So in this case, it's not being used as a verb. It's being used as a noun, like out somewhere, outside, whatever the case may be. That's why I'm saying look out. So this can very well be a verb. The reason why you're not conjugating it is because it's not a verb. And this is the verb that you're conjugating because this is what you want them to do. This is the action. This part is the action, is to look. The out is whatever is out for. Looking out for a house or a car or a boulder or some monster, whatever the case may be. All right. Rawa'a yataza, meaning to look out. Or you can just say ra'a. Or you can just say rawa'a. It still means to look out. All right. Then your next question is, let's see. Look out, I can't. Okay, I can't. Now, do you remember the verb to be able? So now, Akwab, do you remember how to say the verb? How do you say can? Do you remember the verb can? Let me know how to, remind me how to say the word can in the Hebrew, like I'm able to. How would you say you are able to do something? Okay, that's a good guess. Haya is to be, like to exist. All right. But to be able to do something is different. But haya, that is a good answer though. So haya means to be, like to exist, like I am this. Like if you want to say like I want to be something, like I was here, like to exist somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Or like I'm here, you would literally use the verb haya to be like, hey, anya haya, like I'm here, like I exist, like I'm right here. Like that's how you would use the verb haya, because haya means like to be, like to exist. That's correct, Afwak. Yakal is the verb to be. I mean, salakia. I'll just break it down. Haya meaning to be. Salakia. Yakal is the verb. Right. Yakal is able or can. Right. Because in the English now, so now in the English, all right, in the English, there's a word called can, but can does not translate to a word in Hebrew. But the definition of can is the ability of or the ability to do something. So we in the Hebrew we do have a word, right, that means to be able to do something, right? So now what you have is you have your call, right, which means to able. So you're saying, how do you say I can't, right? Like you can't do something. So first, anya, all right, this goes back to the present tense. I can't do something, all right? I can't. So you should know also, Agwa, if you can, give me the subject pronoun for I or I am. Do you remember that too? If you know the subject pronoun for I or I am, all right, just let me know too as well. So you can let me know, but I'm going to still say it. I'm not going to write it on the board because I'm sure y'all know it. All right. So if you want to say I can't, all right, here's a sentence. Well, I'm gonna write it on the board, just in case if anyone else wants to actually see it. So Salaki, that would probably be the best thing to do. All right. Anya, which is I or I am. So Anya is I or I am. You said the verb can or able is your call. So let's conjugate it. All right. Yahweh call. All right. Yahweh call. All right. In this case, you're a sister. So we're going to add that high at the end for you. All right. For you, we're going to add the high at the end, which means can. All right. Now, what's the rule? Now, cannot. I can't. All you would say is, let's write it out together. I'm going to write the whole sentence out. You would say, Anya la'a. And then you would say, Yahweh call, Yahweh kala. All right. So if you want to say I can't, to make something cannot, or like you can't do something, all you have to do is add a la'a in front of the word. All right. All you have to do is add a la'a. So saying I can't, to say anya la'a Yahweh kala. All right. This is for a woman, by the way. This is for a sister. All right. This is. Let me write a big F. All right. This is for being feminine or subservient. All right. Anya la'a Yahweh kala. All right. Anya la'a Yahweh kala. That's how you would say I can't. All right. So anya la'a Yahweh kala. Now, if you want to make it masculine, just say Yahweh call. All right. Anya la'a Yahweh call. And now you have the masculine position of authority tense. All right. Anya la'a Yahweh call. All right. So either way is fine. So now you have, okay, so the next question is, all right, so how do you say to stop fighting with me? Okay, to stop fighting with me. Now that might, well, it's not that it's hard. So now, okay. All right, so to stop fighting with me. All right, so let's break it down. To stop. Do you remember how to say to stop? All right. You might not know the verb for fighting, but do you remember how to say? Now we went over all the verbs, but you may not remember. But how do you say to stop? Do you remember how to say to stop? So let's get something else on the board. So the next question is real quick. It's how to say stop fighting with me. To stop fighting with me. All right. To stop fighting with me. That's a good question. So to stop fighting with me. So does anybody remember how to say the verb stop? All right. Now here we go. Okay. Chadal. All right. Chawadal is okay. That's correct. Okay. So you have. Let me see. How do you say trust me in Hebrew? Okay, how do you say trust me in Hebrew? Okay, trust me in Hebrew. All right, Amakia. All right, real quick, before we get that long sentence. Amak. Oh, that's a little, that might be a little bit. All right. So let's get it. To trust me. How do you say trust me in Hebrew? Amak meaning to be true or trust. So amak, all right. Ya, amak ya, which is trust me. Amak ya is trust me. All right. Amakia is how you would say trust me. All right, that's a good question. How do you say trust me? All right. Amakia. All right, that's how you would say trust me. Amakia. All right. I see conditional, temporary. Salakia, are these questions that you want to know, saying how to say conditional or temporary? Just let me know. But yes, you have trust me, all right, is a mafia. A mafia meaning truth or trust. Trust as in trust, a maf, that's using as a verb. A mafia, that ya at the end is a object pronoun which goes into trust me. So if you want someone to trust you, you would say a mafia, trust me, or you could say our mafia, meaning trust me, you trust me. Right? That could even be a question. All right. That could either be a question too. It could be a mafia or our mafia. All right. You can even say our mafia. Our mafia, meaning you trust me. Now, depending who you may be talking to, depends on the ending. All right. Like a mafia, our mafia. Trust me, you're talking to a brother or someone. If you're gonna say our Messiah, right? Our Messiah, that would be trust me, but you're talking to like a sister. Okay. All right. Ayanda bar. Now let's say, so Hawadal is correct. Hawadal is correct. Is how to say stop. All right. So you stop fighting with me. All right. All right. So you want to, all right. What we want to do is we want to make sure, all right, what we want to make sure is every time you want to structure a sentence, you want to make sure what verb you want conjugated, all right? So you want someone to stop fighting with you, all right? You don't necessarily have to use the word with. You can just easily say stop fighting me. That can be stop fighting with me. It's saying the same thing, stop fighting me. All right, so what you want to do is you want to conjugate, let's say, so let's say Hawadal. Yeah, Hawadal. Which means stop. Then you have makala. All right, makala. Then you have, like, not makala, you have lachama. All right, stop. La. Actually, this is what we'll do. This will be the proper way right here. Let's see. Salaki, give me 1 second. I want to make sure I structure the sentence correctly. All right. I don't want to do. I get to. Let's see. Kadal. All right. Kadal. It means to stop. And you have Lawakama. All right. All right. There you go. On the board, you have Khadal. All right. Khadal, Lawakhamaya. All right. Stop fighting with me, or stop fighting me. All right. Let me know if I answered all your questions. All right. If anyone else has any more questions, please let me know. Most are in Christ. All right. All right. Anybody have any more questions? Let me know. But now let's get back into the past tense. All right. We're going to get back into the past tense. So let's focus on some sentence structuring in the past tense. All right. All right. Let's say, okay, so let's say we're going to have the object pronoun, not the object pronoun. Let's say we get the subject pronoun you, which is asa, right? So you got the subject pronoun you, which is asa. So you have asa. So asa meaning you. So asa is the subject pronoun, right? Asa is the subject pronoun, which means you. All right. Now remember, everything is conjugated based off of your subject pronoun. Everything is conjugated based off your subject pronoun. So now let's use the verb. Let's say you gave me. Let's use the verb to give. Anybody remember how to use? Does anybody remember the verb to give? Who can tell me the verb to give in the Hebrew? Who remembers how to say to give in the Hebrew? Anybody? How would you say to give? Anybody remember how to say to give? All right. So the verb to give is nathan. All right. The verb you have is nathan. Salaki warriors. Cut it up. Sit down, Baba Kusha. Yashar. So now you have the verb nathan. So you have nathan. All right, nathan. So now if you want to conjugate this, right, based on the subject pronoun, you would add a tha at the end. Nathan tha. All right, this is how you would conjugate this. All right, nathan tha, which equals gave. Right. So you gave. Right. The past tense for give is given or gave. You given me this, you gave me this, whatever the case may be, gave or given. Gave or given. So let's say we're down, you gave me, how can we say, you gave me, let's say, oh, perfect. Let's say you gave me, oh, this is actually very perfect. I'm gonna definitely say this. This is perfect. I want y'all to pay very close attention to this, because this is how difficult Hebrew sometimes can be when you're reading it. All right. So here we go. I'm gonna say, you gave me my wine. I'm going to make a sentence based off of you gave me my wine. All right. All right. So what I'm gonna do is add ya. All right. Ya, which is my wine. All right, ya is my wine. So that's how you would say ya. All right. So ya is wine. Ya is how you would say wine in Hebrew. Ya. That ya right here, that ya that comes at the end of this noun, this is called a possessive pronoun. Your my is a possessive pronoun. That wine is a noun. So my wine, ya, which is my wine. So we have a tha, which is you. Nathan tha, which means gave or given. Ya is my wine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to write Nathan. We're going to write this sentence completely out. All right, we're going to write this sentence completely out. And then I want y'all to notice something. All right. So you have a tha. Now I want y'all to see something. So you have right here, all right? You have a tha, Nathan tha, ya. Now, can anybody tell me? Can anybody see where the confusion could be? Anybody? I want y'all to see where the confusion could be. You see, this is how you would write the sentence. To give me, you gave me my wine. You gave me, right? You gave me. Now remember, you gave me my wine, right? So you have to understand this is your subject pronoun you, which is a tha. And the thun is the word give. But you want to conjugate this verb nathan based off of the subject pronoun. So you have to add a tha at the end of that verb. Nathan tha. But there's a ya here for some reason. Why is that ya there? Now, if that a tha wasn't there, you would think that this would be a conjugation based off of the subject pronoun I or I am, but it's not. This is not a conjugation based off of the subject pronoun I or I am. This is still a conjugation based off of the subject pronoun tha, which is you. So that ya that's there, that's a object pronoun, which is me. That me, see this right here? That ya is a me, right? You gave me, then you have ya yunya, my wine. All right? Everybody understand that? Athan, nasan, taya, ya yunya. So if you want to say you gave me my wine, you would say athan, natan, taya, ya yunya. So athan, natan, taya, ya yunya. All right? Now, sometimes that can flow, whatever the case may be, but it's ata natantaya ya yanya. So ata natantaya ya yanya, meaning you gave me my wine. Now, remember, when speaking the Hebrew, you don't have to get down to that. So now, when you're speaking the Hebrew, right, you don't always have to say everything fast. You can say it very slow. So when you're speaking the Hebrew, right, you don't have to say everything very fast. You want to take it very slow. You want to say it slow. Ata, nathan, taya, yayanya, which means you gave me my wine. All right? This ya right here means me. All right? Now remember, it's asa, nathan, tha, ya, yunya. Now remember that ya that's there, that means me. Do not confuse that to be a conjugation based off of the subject pronoun I am. This is still a conjugation based off of the subject pronoun tha, which is you. All right. I want to say that the reason why I wanted to use this example, which is very good, because when you're reading the Hebrew, things like this can appear. All right. And you're going to be very confused. You might be like, well, I thought this was the past tense for I am, but for some reason, the scripture in the English is saying it's talking to someone that's like it's talking to me, or it's talking to you, or whatever the case may be. Like it might confuse you a little. Well, here's why. You want to know object pronouns, and you want to know the difference between object and possessive pronouns. If you really want to learn how to speak Hebrew, you want to study the basics. The basics is subject pronouns, object pronouns, possessive pronouns. You want to know your subject pronouns, you want to know your object pronouns, you want to know your possessive pronouns. I'll say it one more time. You want to know your subject pronouns, you want to know your object pronouns, you want to know your possessive pronouns. Because these are the core ways in order to structure sentences. Like this is how you will structure a sentence. You're going to have subject pronouns to make a sentence because you cannot conjugate the verb without the subject pronoun. You're going to need object pronouns because you could be talking to someone or you could be talking about someone. You want to be very, very careful about that. All right? And you want to know possessive pronouns because the more nouns you know, the better. Like the more verbs and nouns you know in the Hebrew, the better you will be off in the more sentences you can structure. This is just a foundation. Like right here, we're giving you the foundation how to structure sentences. After we give you the foundation, you can have fun building your house. Does that make sense to everybody? Once we give you the foundation, now you can build your house. All right? Now you can build your house the way the house is supposed to be built because you have the foundation. You can take that literally or you can take that spiritually. All right? I would like for you to take it spiritually as well. Think about it this way. The foundation in our culture is the law. I know this is the Lashawan Qadash class, but I want y'all to think a little. The foundation is the law. Once we give you the foundation, now you can build your house because your house is going to be built off of the law. All right? That's how this goes. All right? Everybody understand? Let me know if everybody understands. If anybody has any more questions, we'll carry on. We'll continue this next week as well. All right. So we're gonna continue this next week. We're gonna continue with the past tense and how to structure sentences in the past tense. This is what I want everyone to do as well. I want everyone to have a noun ready for class to use. Everyone that's going to come to the class next Friday, I want y'all to have a noun ready to use and a verb. I want you guys to look up a verb you want to use and a noun you want to use so we can use it in the past tense. All right? With that, I say Admadium, which means to stand. We're going to give a courtesy salute. All right? Men of Israel, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, Admadium, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shah Barakatah, Yadimata, Sar, La Guafim, which means turn to the sisters. Men of Israel. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, Admadium, Barak, Yahweh Shamar Al-Thun Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah. Yadimata. With that, class dismissed.